What would you do if one morning you suddenly regained your hearing in secret and discovered the hidden truths about those closest to you? Ethan Miller, a successful entrepreneur in San Diego, faced exactly this nightmare when he pretended to remain deaf to uncover the people who truly cared for him. The things he overheard from his fiancée shattered his heart, but the words from his devoted housekeeper would transform his life forever. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss this incredible story. Rain streaked across the windshield of Ethan's black SUV as he drove home from the gala honoring the top business innovators in California. At 36, he owned one of the most respected tech startups on the West Coast, and that evening he had just finalized a contract that could change the trajectory of his company forever. City lights blurred outside the window as he adjusted the radio volume, catching snippets of financial news about the surge in his company's stock value. His phone buzzed, displaying the name Vanessa, his fiancée, but he ignored it. He wanted to share the life-changing news face to face. The traffic light turned green, and Ethan pressed the accelerator, oblivious to the catastrophe that awaited. A delivery truck ran a red light, and the collision was unavoidable. Metal twisted, glass shattered, and the world became a dizzying blur of chaos and pain. The last thing he remembered was the piercing sound of impact before darkness consumed him. 3 days later, Ethan woke in a San Diego hospital surrounded by machines and monitors. His head throbbed unbearably. His right arm was in a cast and bandages covered his torso. Vanessa sat beside his bed, her eyes red from crying, holding his hand and mouthing words he could not hear. Ethan could see her lips move, but no sound reached him. He tried to speak, but the words came out distorted, alien, as if his own voice had betrayed him. Panic swept over him when he realized the silence was permanent. Dr. Collins entered, his face grim, speaking without the words reaching Ethan's ears. Vanessa gasped and clasped her hands, clearly receiving devastating news. Ethan understood without hearing a single word. His life had changed irrevocably. The expression on Dr. Collins' face said everything. His inner ear had suffered irreparable damage, leaving him completely deaf. The following days were a relentless trial of adjustment. Ethan learned to communicate through gestures and writing, feeling trapped in a silent abyss. Vanessa attempted comfort, but he noticed impatience in her gestures when he needed to write things multiple times. The doctors explained through diagrams that recovery was unlikely, and his empire would now rely on interpreters and assistants, a humiliation he had never imagined. Business meetings became exhausting exercises in pantomime. Ethan, who once commanded millions with a single phone call, now struggled to order a simple meal in the hospital. The irony was brutal. Every opportunity he had seized by listening intently to every detail now felt out of reach. Leaving the hospital 2 weeks later, he faced a reality more terrifying than any financial collapse. His mansion overlooking the San Diego hills, once vibrant with music and conversation, now felt like a cold mausoleum. Vanessa had hired a young housekeeper to assist him, a woman named Clara Bennett. At 29, with long brown hair tied in a simple braid and warm, expressive eyes, she radiated a kindness Ethan had not felt in months. Unlike Vanessa, who seemed uneasy around his new limitations, Clara communicated naturally and patiently. She wrote clear messages in a notebook, smiled with genuine compassion, and never displayed condescension or frustration. She even left little notes around the house, words of encouragement meant to surprise him with small comforts. Her presence began bringing an unexpected sense of peace to Ethan's chaotic existence. Yet nights were unbearable. He lay awake staring at the ceiling, remembering every sound he had lost. The laughter of friends, office chatter, even the rhythmic ticking of his grandfather's old clock. Vanessa slept beside him, but he felt lonelier than ever, trapped in a world that seemed to have abandoned him. During the day, he feigned composure, maintaining an elegant posture and confident gaze, but in the privacy of his room, tears flowed freely. He wondered if Vanessa truly loved him now that he was different, if his colleagues still respected him, or if his empire could survive without his direct guidance. Clara, working late to tidy the house, sometimes found him awake and left a cup of tea with a note reading, "Everything will be okay, Mr. Ethan." These small gestures became the rare moments of hope in his new silent world. Little did he know the upcoming months would reveal truths about loyalty and love that would change everything. The first months tested Ethan's patience and pride in ways he had never experienced. Publicly, he maintained the demeanor of a successful CEO, elegant suits and confident strides, but each business meeting became a taxing performance reliant on interpreters. His business partners, once in awe of his sharpness, now regarded him with a mix of pity and impatience. During board meetings, some spoke freely among themselves, assuming he could not understand. Social events too became isolating. Vanessa attended by his side, her designer dresses radiant. Yet Ethan felt her smiles were forced, her gestures impatient when explaining matters repeatedly. His reputation as a powerful, untouchable figure was crumbling. At home, dynamics shifted drastically. Vanessa, formerly glamorous and charming, now confronted responsibilities she clearly resented. Managing calls, translating meetings, being constantly available for communication, her patience waned. In contrast, Clara adapted seamlessly, anticipating Ethan's needs without making him feel burdensome. She prepared meals exactly to his taste, organized his home office for easy work, and always kept paper and pen within reach. While Vanessa sighed in frustration, repeating herself, Clara's patience never faltered, even during repeated clarifications. Day-to-day routines revealed stark contrasts. Mornings began with Clara gently waking him, preparing breakfast while he silently reviewed financial reports. Vanessa, on the other hand, often slept late, claiming exhaustion from tending to his needs. Conversations during meals were minimal with Vanessa, while Clara used expressive gestures and thoughtful notes that made Ethan smile. By afternoon, while Ethan attempted homework, Vanessa often went out for shopping or social visits, leaving him with Clara, who quietly organized the workspace and brought coffee without being asked. These small acts nurtured a sense of warmth and understanding, sharply contrasting the tension Vanessa brought. Weekends exposed the cracks further. Vanessa insisted on social obligations, attending parties and dinners where Ethan felt like a silent observer. She spoke for him, decided on his behalf, presenting him as a burden needing constant care. Yet at home, Clara welcomed him with her warm, attentive presence, inquiring sincerely about his evening and showing authentic concern. As weeks turned into months, Ethan began noticing subtle but powerful changes in his emotional landscape. The silence that once terrified him slowly became a space for reflection. He realized that people's true nature was revealed not through their words, but through their actions. Vanessa's smiles were hollow, gestures impatient. Every kindness seemed calculated, performed for appearances. Clara's gestures, however, were genuine, unhurried, instinctive. Ethan found himself waiting for the small notes she left around the house, on the fridge, on the bedside table next to the coffee pot. They were brief phrases like, "Don't forget to take a break, Mr. Ethan," or "The report looks perfect, rest a moment." Each note was a whisper of care in a world that had become deafeningly silent. One evening, as a storm raged outside, Ethan sat in the study, reviewing contracts. Vanessa entered, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She placed a hand on his shoulder, attempting intimacy, but her touch felt distant, perfunctory. Ethan turned slightly, noticing the faint lines of frustration in her expression. She whispered something he could not hear, but the tone, impatient, hurried, told him all he needed to know. Clara appeared then, carrying a tray with chamomile tea and a soft smile. She set the tray beside him and motioned for him to drink. Her presence was a balm. The storm outside seemed to fade into the background. Ethan realized with a pang of longing that he had found a rare human connection, one built not on obligation or superficial attraction, but on empathy and attentiveness. The realization unsettled him. He had been engaged to Vanessa for 3 years, imagining a lifetime together. Yet the foundation of their relationship crumbled under the weight of his new reality. He wondered how he had been so blind, how he had ignored the subtle signs that his fiancée's devotion might not withstand adversity. Business challenges intensified as well. Meetings with investors became more complex. Ethan relied on Clara to interpret messages, relay tone, and anticipate questions. While she did so seamlessly, he was reminded of the fragile dynamics of his professional world. Some colleagues, sensing vulnerability, tried to assert dominance in negotiations. Others, loyal but wary, worked around him cautiously, their words filtered through interpreters and assistants. Through all this, Clara remained a constant presence, a quiet pillar. She never spoke over him, never assumed she understood his thoughts without confirmation. Her gestures were deliberate yet gentle, her writing precise and empathetic. Ethan found himself studying her movements, the way she approached tasks, how she seemed to anticipate needs before they were verbalized. A pivotal evening arrived when Ethan returned from a tense investor dinner. He found Clara in the library arranging papers. The soft lamplight highlighted her features, the simplicity of her attire contrasting sharply with the opulence of the mansion. She noticed him, smiled, and silently gestured for him to sit. Ethan paused, pen hovering over his notebook, searching for the right words. For the first time, he wanted to communicate not just his needs, but his feelings. He scribbled, "Thank you for staying." Clara read it, her eyes shimmering with understanding, and in response wrote, "Always." The simplicity of the exchange carried immense weight. Ethan realized that connection transcended sound. Love, loyalty, and compassion were expressed through consistent, thoughtful action. Vanessa's love had been performative, bound to circumstances, while Clara's care emerged organically, unaffected by appearances or expectation. Weeks later, Vanessa confronted him, her designer heels echoing against the polished floors. She demanded clarity, needing reassurance that their engagement remained intact. Ethan, through written notes, gently explained that he needed time to reflect, that the foundation of their relationship had shifted irrevocably. Vanessa's face twisted in frustration, anger flickering in her eyes. Ethan felt no guilt. He understood that staying in a relationship built on conditional love would only perpetuate pain. In contrast, Clara's consistent, unspoken loyalty had shown him the rarest form of human connection, one born not of obligation, but of genuine care. Life at home transformed. Clara's presence became more integrated into Ethan's daily routine, not as a housekeeper, but as a trusted companion. She anticipated his needs before they arose, organized his day for efficiency, and provided emotional stability in ways that no interpreter or assistant could. One rainy morning, Ethan looked out over the city from his office window. The streets glistened with reflections, the world moving in its relentless rhythm. He felt a quiet gratitude. His empire remained intact, his health slowly recovering, and most importantly, he had discovered a profound truth. The people who stay by your side in silence reveal more than those who speak in abundance. It was during these quiet moments that Ethan decided to make a change. He restructured his company to be more inclusive, emphasizing collaboration and empathy over cutthroat competition. He shared credit generously, ensuring that those loyal in the shadows received recognition. Clara became an integral part of his life, not just in the mansion but in the heart of his empire, helping guide decisions and providing insight he had never anticipated. Then came the night that would define his understanding of love and loyalty. Ethan awoke to the sound of wind-rattling windows, the mansion otherwise silent. He found Clara in the kitchen, quietly preparing a simple meal. He scribbled a note. "Why are you still up?" She smiled softly, replying, "I wanted to make sure you were okay." In that moment, Ethan realized he had discovered a love deeper than any he had imagined. Not the dramatic, flashy kind celebrated in media or weddings, but the subtle, steadfast love that endured trials, silence, and hardship. Vanessa's departure became inevitable. Her departure was met not with anger, but with calm acceptance. She had never understood the essence of connection Ethan now cherished. Through it all, the mansion transformed. Once a symbol of status and isolation, it became a haven of quiet strength and trust. Clara's presence filled the space with warmth and intentionality. Each note, each gesture reinforced the values Ethan now held dear. He learned that life's most profound truths often emerge in silence, in subtle acts, in the people who remain when circumstances challenge superficial bonds. And so, Ethan's story, once defined by loss and silence, became a narrative of discovery, resilience, and authentic connection. Through Clara, he found a mirror of human loyalty and empathy that no wealth or social acclaim could replicate. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if this story resonated with you. Share in the comments your own experiences of unexpected loyalty, quiet heroism, or those who show true care in subtle ways. Together, we can celebrate the people who transform our lives through quiet, unwavering presence. Months turned into a year, and Ethan's life, once defined by appearances and obligations, had settled into a rhythm that felt real, grounded, and strangely liberating. The mansion, a place that had seemed vast and empty, was now filled with subtle warmth. Each corner held traces of Clara's thoughtful presence, a folded throw on the armchair, a cup left by the window with a note reminding him to rest, a pencil sketch she had made of the city skyline on a scrap of paper. Ethan began to notice the small details that had eluded him in the past. The way Clara would pause mid-task, listening for sounds he hadn't even realized he made. The way she adjusted the lighting in the study to reduce strain on his eyes, almost imperceptibly. Every action, no matter how minor, was a quiet assertion of care and attentiveness. It struck him that the human spirit had a language far beyond speech, a lexicon of gestures, rhythms, and presence. Business continued to challenge him, but the pressures felt less suffocating now. Clara's influence was subtle, never intrusive, yet profoundly effective. Investors noticed the shift. They remarked on Ethan's newfound calm, his measured responses, his attentiveness in meetings. He realized that leadership was not about dominance or theatrics. It was about consistency, integrity, and the invisible threads that held teams together. Clara, once a silent observer, had become an anchor for both his personal and professional life. One evening, Ethan received a letter from an old friend, reminding him of the life he once chased, a life of parties, high-profile deals, and social posturing. The letter felt foreign, almost surreal. He read it under the soft glow of the study lamp, then looked up at Clara, who was quietly reading a book nearby. For the first time, he did not feel drawn to that world. Its allure had faded, replaced by something deeper, something authentic. That night, as the rain streaked against the window, Ethan scribbled a note, his handwriting slightly shaky, betraying emotion he rarely allowed himself to feel. I've realized something important. I want to live differently. Thank you for showing me what's real. Clara read it, her eyes reflecting quiet understanding, and in her steady, simple hand she replied, You always had it in you. I just stayed. The words lingered in the air like a whispered truth. Ethan understood that loyalty and empathy could not be taught, could not be commanded. They had to be lived moment by moment, choice by choice. Clara's steadfastness had become a mirror, reflecting a side of himself he had neglected, the part that could value connection over pretense, care over convenience, integrity over image. Winter approached, and with it a hush that settled over the mansion. The city outside seemed to slow, as if honoring the quiet transformation within. Ethan and Clara established new routines, sharing moments that spoke louder than words. Morning tea by the fireplace, evenings walking through the snow-covered garden, the soft rhythm of pages turning in books that neither could put down. These moments were fleeting but infinitely rich, carrying the weight of genuine companionship. Conflict did not vanish entirely. Vanessa attempted contact, sometimes through calls, sometimes through messages, each a reminder of the life Ethan had left behind. He read each one, but they no longer stirred anxiety or regret. His response was calm, polite, and firm. He had chosen a path defined not by expectation or social pressure, but by understanding, compassion, and authenticity. A turning point came one morning when Ethan noticed Clara had arranged a small gallery of sketches along the hallway. Drawings of cityscapes, fleeting moments, and quiet interiors. He stopped at each, absorbing the subtle narrative she had created. Each image was a testament to observation, patience, and the capacity to see deeply into life's unnoticed details. Ethan realized that her art, like her care, was about presence, about witnessing without judgment, about shaping the world gently, invisibly. Over the following months, Ethan's empire adapted to his new approach. Decision-making meetings became more collaborative. Employees were encouraged to contribute ideas without fear of dismissal. The company thrived not through intimidation, but through trust. And always, in the margins of contracts, in the quiet moments between calls, Clara's influence was felt. She guided not with authority, but with a steady, reliable presence that inspired confidence and clarity. There were nights, though, when Ethan felt a swell of emotion that words could not capture. He would watch Clara sleep briefly or catch her humming softly while working, and a sense of gratitude and wonder would rise within him. It was a recognition of something rare, a human connection that had endured silently, through challenges, through misunderstanding, through years of unspoken need. Ethan began keeping a journal, a place where he documented the subtleties of life he had once overlooked. Clara would occasionally glance at it, offering a quiet nod or a small smile, never intruding, never pressuring. The journal became a mirror, reflecting growth he had once believed impossible. He realized that the people who truly transform us often do so without spectacle, without demand. They simply remain present, steady, and unwavering. The mansion itself became a testament to this transformation. What was once sterile and imposing was now a place of quiet vibrancy. Plants thrived in sunlit corners, rooms bore traces of laughter, and the scent of fresh bread or tea often lingered in the air. It was a home shaped not by grandeur but by care, attention, and intentional presence. Ethan began to host small gatherings, intimate dinners for friends and collaborators, carefully curated to nurture connection rather than impress. The emphasis was on shared experience, on listening, on mutual understanding. These gatherings, while modest, held a depth and resonance that larger ostentatious events could never achieve. Through all these moments, the lessons were clear. Human connection, empathy, and loyalty are revealed in the quiet, in the consistency of small gestures, in the refusal to abandon care when circumstances are difficult. Vanessa's absence, once a source of anxiety, became a signpost of growth. She represented the life he no longer desired, a reminder of what superficiality and performance could never provide. As Ethan's story unfolded, viewers like you are invited to reflect. How often do we overlook the quiet, steadfast figures in our lives? How often do we prioritize spectacle over substance, noise over presence? If this narrative resonates, consider subscribing and sharing your experiences. Your stories of subtle loyalty, empathy, and transformation can inspire a community that values depth over display. Spring arrived quietly, brushing the city with tender green and pale sunlight. The mansion seemed to breathe along with the season, each room alive with subtle vibrancy, each corner holding traces of life fully engaged. Ethan often found himself in the garden at dawn, the air crisp, dew clinging to the petals of emerging flowers. Clara would join him sometimes, her presence unspoken yet profoundly grounding. Words felt unnecessary in those moments. The rhythm of shared existence was enough. The bond between them had deepened in ways that neither could have anticipated. It was not marked by dramatic declarations or sweeping gestures, but by the steady accumulation of small, meaningful acts. Coffee placed precisely at the edge of the table, notes left for encouragement, shared silences that spoke of understanding and trust. Ethan came to realize that these quiet moments carried more weight than any proclamation of love or friendship. They were the scaffolding of enduring connection. Challenges still emerged, both subtle and overt. Economic fluctuations, unexpected business complications, and the occasional intrusion from past acquaintances tested Ethan's resolve. Yet Clara's influence was unwavering, her counsel precise without being imposing. In moments of doubt, he learned to pause, to consider not only immediate outcomes but also the broader impact on the people around him. It was a lesson in empathy, patience, and perspective, an understanding that every decision ripples outward in ways both seen and unseen. One evening, while reviewing plans for a new project, Ethan paused and looked at Clara. She was sketching a city scene, the pencil moving delicately across the page, her eyes thoughtful. He felt a wave of gratitude and realization. She had not only guided him toward personal growth, but also reshaped his understanding of leadership, of life, of presence itself. For years he had equated power with control, influence with domination. Now he understood that true influence was quiet, measured, and compassionate. As the months unfolded, Ethan began mentoring younger colleagues, sharing lessons he had learned the hard way. He spoke less of ambition and more of integrity, less of profit and more of human connection. The difference was noticeable. People responded to authenticity. They listened because Ethan had become someone who understood the weight of quiet commitment, who valued the depth of care over superficial achievement. Clara's hand was always there, subtle and invisible, guiding him toward consistency and reflection. Outside the mansion, life continued with its rhythms and disturbances. Friends married, children were born, the city evolved. Yet within the walls of Ethan's home, a sanctuary of attentiveness and mutual respect had been built. It was not ostentatious, not performative. It simply existed, a testament to the quiet power of consistent care. Visitors often remarked on the serenity of the house, the warmth of its atmosphere, and Ethan always knew the true architect of that peace, Clara. A pivotal moment came during a quiet night when a severe storm swept through the city. Trees bowed to the wind, rain battered the windows, and the power flickered repeatedly. Ethan found himself in the study, heart racing, facing logistical crises that seemed insurmountable. Clara appeared silently beside him, offering calm words and steady hands. Together they navigated the immediate chaos, yet more importantly, they weathered it without panic or blame. The storm outside mirrored the challenges of life, but inside their shared presence created stability. It was in these trials that Ethan truly understood the lessons Clara had imparted, not through words, but through the very act of staying, steadfast, patient, and unwavering. Life was unpredictable, fragile, often overwhelming. Yet connection, empathy, and trust provided a grounding force stronger than any circumstance. Eventually, Ethan began to reflect on his own growth with an unprecedented clarity. Journals, sketches, and moments of reflection became evidence of transformation, each entry a reminder of lessons learned and applied. Clara's quiet guidance had taught him not only to value the small, persistent acts of care, but also to recognize the importance of patience, observation, and intentionality in every human interaction. The mansion, once a monument to detachment and isolation, had become a living chronicle of change, resilience, and authenticity. Its walls bore witness to laughter, contemplation, effort, and quiet victories, the invisible yet profound markers of a life lived with presence. Ethan often wandered through its halls, pausing at photographs, sketches, and notes left over the years, and he felt a profound sense of gratitude. He understood fully that growth was never solitary. It was nurtured by those who remained quietly steadfast in the background of our lives. In the final scene, Ethan stands in the garden, the sun breaking through clouds, illuminating blossoms that had emerged over months of care and attention. Clara joins him, their hands brushing, a simple touch carrying the weight of shared history, of enduring loyalty, of mutual respect. There is no grand declaration, no cinematic gesture, only the calm certainty that they have built something meaningful, something enduring. As you watch this story unfold, consider the quiet figures in your own life, the friends, mentors, and companions who stay, who observe, who offer guidance without demand. Reflect on the subtle power of consistency, the enduring strength of empathy, the transformative potential of presence. And if this narrative resonates with you, take a moment to subscribe to our community, share your own experiences, and tell us how small, steadfast acts have shaped your world. Your stories matter. They remind us that impact is rarely loud, recognition is rarely immediate, and yet through patience and unwavering presence, we can create lives of depth, meaning, and connection. Comment below what touched you. Share how these lessons mirror your own experiences, and join a community that values authenticity over spectacle, care over convenience, and presence over pretense. Life, like this story, is composed of small, quiet moments that build into something enduring. Pay attention, stay present, and remember that sometimes the most profound transformations come not from grand gestures, but from those who remain silently, faithfully beside us.